Hello. I'm
What's
Terrance.
the name of our show, Terrance?
Welcome to Las Pinata. I'm Terrance. This is Dave.
Hi.
Do you want to introduce yourself, Dave? You said you wanted to. I'm just Terrance, the aspiring guy here.
Yeah, Terrance has never done anything. He's just starting up. He's brand new.
Yep.
Hi, my name's Dave. I'm a singer-songwriter, and I have dabbled in a bunch of different things, like filmmaking and cartooning and comedy and any number of things. So, and I also do some creative coaching on the side. So, yeah.
And I'm Terrance. I'm a video TV producer. And
see what I'm thinking? Yeah. Terrance,
but I'm an aspiring artist, author, musician. I've got like lots of things I'd like to do, but I never get done. And so this is our podcast that is Las Pinata. And the idea of it is to talk about like the creative lifestyle, building things, creating things, working as an artist.
Is your pinata lost?
Yes, of course it's lost.
Let us help you find it, and then you can bang it until you get all the goodies out of it. Well, this is okay. So we're gonna we need to come up that we can get a catchphrase built around the blog.
No, once you get your pinata where it's going, you get all the stuff out of it.
Shake all the
filled with candy and good ideas.
So we're gonna help you poke your pinata better.
We're gonna help you break it. Maybe break it. Let's
liberate your pinata. Find and liberate your pinata.
Yeah. Get to the good stuff. That's how I want to think of it.
That's right. There's candy in there. There's a whole bunch of goodies.
And so I thought for our first episode, what would be a good topic would be motivation, because that's what I struggle with, or I'm struggling with right now. So
I don't know. Well, is motivation really? See, I'm curious if motivation is the real issue for you, because you definitely seem motivated. But I mean, the issue for you is time.
I don't know that it's time, because I've watched a lot of Star Trek lately, and I've
but how
played a lot of video games lately.
Well, it used to be that while you were doing other things, you would draw all the time. Do you still do that?
No. Yeah.
Do you doodle? Do you just like scribble things? I mean, do you do any type of unconscious creative stuff?
Not so much. I mean, I will go into like character thoughts. That's a thing I definitely do.
Okay. Yeah. So you're, that's something, because I know that you're Terrance here. To all you newbies out there, I guess everybody's a newbie. It's a new show.
Yeah.
But you may have seen our old show, Heroic Origins. But Terrance is Mr. Backstory. He's the world builder supreme, and that actually, you're somebody who's never struck me as wanting for I mean, certainly creative production is something that comes naturally with you. It's a matter of focus.
Well, maybe motivation isn't the right word. Maybe it's goals. Maybe it's like hitting those. Well, what drives you to get to the goal, get to the finish line? What?
Okay, yeah. So we're getting a little closer. So it's like it's not. So I guess what? Yeah. I think there's stuff that we do naturally, that you don't need motivation for, right? I mean, and then there's the stuff that you don't like doing that you do need the motivation for. So, but I mean, you're a naturally creative guy. I mean, it's like the way as long as I've known you, it's like you can't keep the creativity down. I mean, this is constantly going on. You're on default, invention,
But I mean, but at the same time, I mean, it's like I've got writer's block, I think. That's what I'm officially terming it as writer's block, because I've written like half of us started something and I can't get past it.
Well, why do you stop?
And that's a good question. Oh, we've got a guest. Look, it's our first guest.
Hello there.
Hello.
Josie.
I finished all my cereal.
Okay.
Do I have to finish all my milk though?
No, you can go play.
Thank you.
Right.
And hello.
Hello. What motivates you?
Oh, she is becoming a game designer.
Ooh, very nice.
Yeah.
I'm making a new game. It's sort of like a horror game.
Very nice, very nice.
She's enjoying her Roblox, and I know
I'm-
we're
I'm
gonna make
te-
a Roblox game at some point.
I'm
Okay.
making a sumo wrestler
Shh,
game.
don't tell everybody.
Yeah. You don't want anybody
It's a
stealing your
secret.
idea. Don't let anybody steal your idea.
Yeah.
We're live. We're actually being broadcast.
We're live right now.
Strangers are listening, maybe.
Yes.
Not really. Actually, there's a.
So.
Oh no, there's somebody here that's commented. Oh, it's somebody trying to get our business.
Who is it?
Well, I don't want to repeat their name because it's just a bot. Okay.
Yeah.
What's their name?
All right.
Nope.
Hey, why don't you go play? You can go play.
Okay.
All right.
Goodbye.
Can you close the door?
Okay.
All right, thank you.
He's making a sumo wrestler game.
So I don't know. I mean, I feel like motivation. Yeah. So I mean, I guess motivation is certainly part of it. But what is it you're trying to get motivated to do? And I don't think it's coming up with ideas. You have plenty of ease doing that.
It's not a question of ideas or creativity. It's a question of what moves you to make a piece. Like, I can have ideas all day, but what am I using those ideas for, and how do I put those ideas to use? And
because I think it comes for you, it's when you start getting, you have to kind of edit when you're judging yourself. That really,
I suck at editing. I don't edit.
Yeah. So I mean, I kind of feel like, maybe you just need to embrace that, because I think that holds a lot of people up when it comes to creative projects is that it's not that they're not motivated to do it. It's just that they start getting very picky about what they're doing, and they don't let the creativity just flow. And it's how do you, I don't know, I believe in doing first drafts. I'm a big first drafter person, and you just roll through those, and you turn your editor off, and just get it out, get something done, and that's inspiring in and of its own right.
That's what I loved about like NaNoWriMo. I think I learned writing because of NaNoWriMo, because it was it finally got me out of the idea that, of having the perfect sentence and having the perfect paragraph and having the perfect anything, and just getting a whole story completely out. And that was a beautiful, liberation from all those constructs of I got to have this structure, and I've got to have, this act, then that act, then that act, as opposed to just, these are characters. They're just going to run wild until they get to the end of their story. And that was absolutely liberating. And I can't encourage people to do it more, because, that was my favorite thing. But that's still my favorite thing.
It wasn't NaNoWriMo for me, but my thing was that several years ago I was having trouble finishing songs, writing, because mostly what was getting in the way with me was just booking shows, setting up rehearsals, doing all the business stuff, promotion, for just doing the music business. And I was having a hard time writing songs, which is what I'm really passionate about. And so I was trying to figure out how to do the motivation, and I came up with this thing called what I call Song a Day January. And what that is I basically just challenge myself to write a song every day for the month of January. And there was a little bit more to it, because I had to post it every day, and I had to do a little blog entry about it. I also did some co-writing with some people, and it actually ended up being like a great, just on the issue of motivation, what I learned from it is what you were talking about, Terrance, is just kind of going with the flow. If you've got to finish a song a day, that means you've got to make choices, and if your goal is not to make the best song, but just to get a song done, what I found, what was really interesting to me, was that most of the songs were good. None of them were bad, I don't think. Maybe there was one or two that were bad, outright bad. But most of them were good, and some of them were genuinely great. And it just, I think that the key, though, is that they were better than I would have expected from just doing it and not spending too much time on editing. Now I would spend, extra time, I'd spend hours, I would I would take everything else off my schedule and focus on the stuff during that time. And the first time I did it, it was really harrowing. But now it's a lot easier
Well,
and it not as stressful.
well, how do you push yourself though to? I mean, because yeah, editing is my weak point. I don't edit. Like if I've got stories I've written before that I've never edited, and that when it comes to editing, I just shut down. So what gets you to that? Like, what do you use to, like, do you break it into tiny pieces? Do you?
Well, I mean, it's a little different, I think, for writing a song because it's a short form, right?
Yeah. Well, I even started doing short stories because of it, because
Yeah.
like my novels are just sitting there.
Well, I'll just tell you what, I don't know if it's going to help with short stories, but but writing a song, there's a couple ways I would do it. One is I could take it to a critique group. Well, one, I would just sit down and look at it on my own. And doing a song, again, it's much shorter than a short story, right? So I mean, the types of changes that need to be done are usually, they can be pretty minor. Sometimes you got to rewrite something completely. Okay, let me pull back. First thing I do after writing a song is I listen to it a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
I actually, what I'll do is I'll take all 31 songs I write in January, I put it on a playlist and I'll just play them,
Oh,
and what happens is, I'll just have it going on in the background and my mind will just start thinking. It's like, oh, that's not right. That's, I don't like that combination of words, or that doesn't capture the sense that I was intending. And so I've just got it going on in the background all the time. And then by the time I sit down to revise it, I've already got revisions in my head. So there's actually kind of an interesting idea. What if you were to record an audio of your short story and just listen to it, like,
actually, yeah. That's actually, while you were talking, I was thinking that's not a bad idea. I could, because especially now with AI, you can get that done.
Yeah.
Like just get it. I mean, it's not as good as a real person, but it's still.
Well,
like,
it could. I don't know.
It'll read your story back for you. So
I'm amazed at how well they get AI doing some of that stuff now.
And I listen to a lot of audiobooks too. So, like, I might try that actually.
I think you should actually. I think it's great because it's just, if you just got it in the background, it's not even something you have to focus on.
Yeah, because at first I was thinking like, maybe if I read and reread my stories, but it's like, yeah, actually I could have it read to me, and I would totally do that. So
because what I do is I just sort of have that playlist going and I'll actually work out while I'm listening to it. Because it's like an hour and a half of songs, so that's like about the time frame that I'd want to do for a workout. So, yeah. And you could just put it on a loop, or you could put several of your short stories. I guess you could do, I mean, if you've got sevel pieces that you got. Anyway, that's one thing. But that's one thing that works for me.
Idea. Yeah.
The other thing, just sitting down and I'll make minor, but yeah, by the time I get to it, I'm already got some ideas of what I want to do.
Or at least it's the passive, like, just taking it back in. Like, I know that, like, after I write something, I'll leave it for like, weeks to a month, just before I even really look at it again. And then I might read through it and I just don't edit it, or I don't actually read through it. That's the thing. I'll start something else. That's another thing I do is I just start things. I start new things. It's like, oh, I got a month before I should. They always say, you should take a break after you write something and I will take that break. And during that break, I will start something else. And I will be into that thing. So I don't ever want to go back and edit. So.
Well, I think there's, I know they say take a break and stuff. Well, I don't know. I've got another thing. I've got a podcast that's called Raw Songwriting, and what I do is I interview. I mean, there's more to it than this, but I interview other songwriters about their process, and there are some people that that stick it in a drawer and they wait to come back to it, but other people just keep working on it. I don't think it's wrong. If you've got something where you kill your flow and you kill your interest in the whole thing, then, maybe you should just stick with it. Maybe it doesn't make sense to take a break from it. I mean, that might be a problem in other ways.
Hmm.
Let me talk about some other things that I do from a revision standpoint.
Okay.
One thing that, as a performer, I actually make it a point when I have a new song to get out there and play it, at a show and get some sort of, get an idea of how it feels, to play it live, what kind of reaction you get from an audience. And that'll give you a lot of feedback on what you might want to do. The project that I had with the Song a Day January thing it's actually built in that I post it immediately. Not everybody wants to be that vulnerable and expose things. And there's better ways to do it, perhaps. Mine's very public. But what it does allow me to do is get feedback immediately from people. And, people are usually pretty nice. They're mostly my friends on social media. So,
and you've talked before about that, about it being the accountability of saying that you're going to do it public.
Yes, by committing to the public that I'm going to write a song every day, then they get used to it. They're expecting it, or at least I imagine they're expecting it. Maybe they're sick of it. I don't know. But when you get people responding to it every day, then that's sort of like, okay, well, I don't want to disappoint people. I'm going to get a song out, and the exercise is just about getting something done. I think people understand that it's not intended to be a final draft. But I think that feedback is really useful because oftentimes, for me, the stuff that I hate writing the most, the stuff that I really didn't like, or I had a lot of issues with, that I had to force it. It felt like I was forcing it. Sometimes those end up being really popular. So sometimes I'll write something I'm embarrassed by. I have a thing about a problem with happy songs. If it's too happy, I just feel, or if it's too comic, sometimes like I've always worried about, I don't know, you want to be taken seriously and all that stuff. But sometimes you'll do the stuff and it's like people just really like the stuff that you may be cringe, that you think is cringeworthy. They may really love it, and that'll shape your feeling about it, and it'll make you realize sometimes that the reasons why you weren't liking it may not have been valid, because the effort that you're putting into it is not something that people are seeing out there.
Right.
They only see the product.
Right. They see the end. Yeah.
Yeah. But when you're revising it, when you're looking at it, you it's hard to get detached in that way. It's hard to be detached from the effort that you've already put in and all the aggravation you all the compromises you made to put that out there. And everybody else, it just looks like a finished piece. They assume that that's how you intended it from the start. They don't realize that you killed off two characters that you loved, but you thought were extraneous to the story, Yeah. So yeah.
No, I see that. Yeah. So the struggle. Yeah. Have you ever had to deal with, like, I guess it's like a complete block, like where you couldn't come out of it, like where like I guess, what do you do with the ones that are like, I hate doing this one? Like, you're doing Song a Day and you're on one and it's like, I hate this one. Do you just drop it and start a new one, or do you?
There have occasionally been times where I did drop it and started a brand new one. That has happened.
All right.
Yeah. So yeah, for the most part, it's about turning. I think the key though is that, this is true with stories as well. There's a structure that you're working with, right?
Yeah.
And I've got, when I'm writing a song, I know that there's a certain kind of minimum structure that I'm shooting for. I want to have, two verses, two verse chorus progressions, right? And then it doesn't, hopefully three, and it doesn't necessarily have to have a bridge, but a bridge would be nice. You can do that with there's a form, there's a structure. And I was talking about, I haven't put it out yet, but the latest podcast, I'm interviewing this guy named Tim Ostick, who's a songwriter in Colorado. And we were talking about Taylor Swift. In fact, actually, that was the prompt, to write a song in the style of Taylor Swift. And one thing that's interesting about Taylor Swift is that she really focuses on the bridge of a song. She comes up with really innovative bridges. And that's something for me, it's just a chore. I just try to roll out a bridge, and when I'm writing a song, if I'm trying to write a song in a couple hours or something like that, I'll get the verses and the chorus kind of worked out, and then I'll get to the bridge and I'm like, okay, any old thing, and oftentimes, I mean, it works. It'll work, because it's just a break from the monotony of the verse and the chorus. But I probably shortchanged it a little bit more than I need to, But I guess the point is that when I'm trying to write something in rapid form, I'll just do it short. I mean, it's not uncommon for me to do like a really short song. Oftentimes, those short songs, if I write it, I'm exhausted. I'm just gonna write a quick short song. Those are ones that people really like. Those songs that you write from exhaustion can be really inspiring to people, and I suspect that's probably true with short stories as well, or any type of writing. Sometimes when you're exhausted, you do your best stuff.
Well, I can hope. I don't know. Well, I don't know. Have we talked enough about motivation?
I don't know. Actually, I'm enjoying the conversation. If you
Well,
want to keep going,
well, I mean, the question is, how long are we going to talk? This is our first show. How much do we want to? I mean, we're at 20 minutes already.
Well, I don't know. I feel like there's more to talk about. I mean, do you feel motivated?
I mean,
you've got some sort of tool that you're going to try, which is the recording the stuff, and
right.
Yeah.
No, that's that would be interesting just to see. Yeah, because I listen to a lot of books, and I'm like, wow, I could totally be listening to my own books. So.
Well, I think actually that's something to aspire to. Is you want to be making art that you like.
Yes.
And so there's some. It's sort of like I sometimes think about this with social media, and I try to think of it this way anyway. Mm-hmm. That in some ways, what I'm trying to do is program my own television station or something.
Yeah.
That it's entertaining other people. I mean, I understand that's part of it. You want to draw people in and get followers and whatnot. Yeah. But I mean, I think a lot of people, this is something that gets in the way of people's motivation a lot of times, is they're trying to anticipate what other people like.
Right.
And I think that's a huge mistake, because I remember probably back in the 90s or whatever, reading an article about how much weight like a national magazine would give a letter to the editor. If somebody wrote a letter. Right. Now, I know it's a little easier these days because of email and everything. But I think still there's a number that they associate with if somebody sits down, takes the time to actually write to them, that means that there's probably a bunch of other people that feel the same way, but we're too lazy to write.
And that's how that's how we would always address things. Yeah.
Like exactly.
One person saying you're doing great was, 20 people saying you're doing great,
But I mean, you can apply that though to you as a creative artist, that, if you're willing to put in the effort to produce something that you like,
well, yeah,
there's a whole bunch of other people who don't have that level. They're not willing to put in that effort, who also like what you do. So I think it's just a matter of finding those people, right? So I think don't ever be discouraged. Don't worry about people. There are people out there that like exactly what you like. You are not an island.
At the end of the day, the reason that I make things is because I'm bored with the media that I have, and I want something else. And so I start creating things, and I start writing things, and maybe that's a motivator for me. Is just that I need to run out of episodes of Star Trek or something. Yeah, but it's real. Like I run out of media all the time because I don't watch that much. I'm not that.
That's interesting. So well, you don't. So you could conceivably, if you were watching a lot. Well, you see, you're kind of interesting. One thing I find for you is that you're. Some people are inspired by stuff. I tend to be inspired by the media that I watch. I watch a movie and I'm like, I want to make something that moves me the way that this movie does.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
But I mean, that's more of a primary thing for me. Whereas, like, I think for you, and I've noticed this over the years, is that you kind of need somebody to push against, or something to push against, to really get focused. Because this is the thing I remember, and this was There was a time you asked me to help you write a story about, I think it was like a skateboard superhero or something.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember.
The
But
screenplay Cage. I know
yeah,
exactly.
that. Well,
Yeah.
you asked me to help you with that, and I remember getting in there, and I was like throwing out ideas left and right, and you hated every single one of them, and I was like getting very frustrated at the whole thing. And it occurred to me, but you were making a lot of progress with the story the way that you wanted to do it, and it occurred to me that in this case, I was being helpful to you in writing your story because you had me to push against.
Yeah, I
And
guess.
it actually forced you to focus because you could maybe perhaps direct your criticism away from yourself and towards somebody else.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of
Yeah.
interesting. Now, mind you, I don't enjoy that dynamic.
No, that's
But-
not the best way to work with someone, to collaborate.
But there's something. But I think there's something to be said, though. You see, but that's where the thing is like, it's like if I think the way that you set up your collaborations with people, kind of laying down exactly where, what the expectations are. But I think that actually was a very, I just remember that, as much as I wasn't enjoying it, that it was actually very helpful for you to get stuff done.
It was. I mean, that, and honestly, and that was before I'd ever did NaNoWriMo, before I had the way to just write in that way. So I did need that then. Definitely. I needed somebody to, and to shake me,
Yeah. And so I mean, there's something there is that, negative motivation, you can look for that as well. And that's a little more delicate. How do you set that up? Right.
Yeah. I don't,
you could
have a really good friend who won't just tell you, have a really good friend who won't just tell you to fuck off and do it yourself.
Well, it's almost like, it's like, could you, pick somebody to collaborate with that you hate their ideas, and that might, force you to do. I don't know, but I mean that it's just having that insight, knowing that, well, think of it. Some of the best, I think in terms of music a lot, but a lot of how many songs have been written as responses to songs that people didn't like? It could have been a personal attack or something.
Yeah.
I know John Lennon and Paul McCartney used to snipe at each other,
Yeah.
but
having a little feud there. Yeah.
But there are times where people hear something and or there have been movies where I'll watch that and I'll be like, wow, that really could have been good. That had a good premise and stuff. I wish, they had, and sometimes that'll get you motivated to write something as a counter, or, oh, I know, I did this. This was the storytelling game, which I don't think we've ever actually played, but the one that we use the prompts.
I was going to say the
card game.
We played a little bit. Well, we haven't played the game, but we played with the
we've used those prompts for other things, but I have a game I haven't published it, but it's called Publish or Perish. And it's a storytelling game, and I came up with it after I'd played another storytelling game called Once Upon a Time.
Mm-hmm.
And the game was ostensibly a competitive game, but it really didn't make any sense at all as a competitive game. It was like, I don't know, it just didn't make sense. And I can't remember how the mechanic of the game worked at the time. It may have changed since then too. But this was 20 odd years ago, 25. Sorry, hey, I'm an old man. But the thing is that, not to say that I produced something better. I don't know that I did, but I did. Got me on a point here where I was like, wow, I really like the idea of a storytelling game, but I really hate the mechanic of this game. I thought it really worked badly. So I spent a lot of time. That was really a motivating force. I was playing a lot of board games and card games at the time. And that really motivated me to do a bunch of research, lay this thing out and do it. And it was totally hate creation. I was just being like, I can do better than this shit. And I think that, so don't be, if you're going to be self-critical, I think this is the thing, can you reroute your self-criticism in a way that you're actually creating something as a critique of the stuff that you don't like that's out there? Maybe there's a way to think of it that way. It's just changing your perspective.
Right. Yeah.
That can be very motivating.
Yeah. Redirecting that anger is because I rewrote the ending to the Marvel universe. It's fan fiction.
Yeah, there you go.
because I was really upset with what they did in 2015 when they basically ended the Marvel universe.
Wait,
And
was that
that was
Infinity War or
the
Endgame?
Secret Wars when they decided to bring the Ultimate Universe and the Marvel universe, and they just
Oh, I'm
they,
sorry. You're talking about in the comics. Okay.
yeah, in the
Yeah.
comics when they erased all of continuity for me.
Because
And so,
continuity is a big deal to Terrence.
yeah, so I came up with an end for all of it, and then about halfway through, I was like, "Why am I writing this, and why am I doing this?" And it was just because I was angry, but it did motivate me to write a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I think definitely, yeah. I guess it's not. It's kind of like rage quitting, but it's just rage. It's
Rage creating.
rage creating. Yeah.
Rage creating. And I mean, I think that's, if that's where you find your stuff. I mean, that's if you're a hypercritical person, if you're constantly complaining about other types of art form, then don't. I think that can be really, really motivating.
Yeah.
I mean, when you sit down, I mean, if you're sitting down and you're worried, you're just like, oh, I want to make sure that whatever I'm working on is really good. That may not be that may stop you. But if instead you're thinking, how can I embarrass James Cameron or something like that?
Like,
How can I
fix
embarrass
all of
this person?
Like they messed it all up, and I loved it, and now how do I fix it?
I'm going to show them how to actually do it.
Yeah.
And that could be really motivating. I mean, at least, for a first draft or something like that.
Exactly. And then you can, adapt it to whatever you're going to make it and put it out there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you're
I've heard of people that basically they turning their fan fiction into actual separate stories where they change the character. They change.
Wasn't
because they didn't like the way that the actual book went or the actual movie went or what happened.
What was the movie that Dakota Johnson became famous for?
Was that the 50
sex
Shades?
thing?
Yeah, 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, that apparently started out as Twilight fan fiction.
Really?
Yeah. That was a Twilight fan fiction piece, and it got changed into. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That seems really dark now.
But yeah, I mean, certainly fan fiction. I mean, if you're inspired by media that's see, this is the thing. You can be either inspired to do more of that fan fiction, or of that property that you like, or you can hate what they've done and try to correct it.
Right.
All that stuff is valid motivation.
I guess it doesn't have to necessarily be negative. It could just be that, like, you see something else that could happen. Like, it doesn't have to be like I'm just thinking, like, man, this is like, it's so like, it'd be nice to like have a positive way to look at it, which is just like and which is where I start from. Like, I get bored with media and I want something else, and so I just make it.
Yeah. I think that's wonderful. So you've got what are the types of motivation we've talked about so far? We've talked about boredom being a source of motivation. I think that's interesting. Criticizing, critiquing other forms of media. That's a good form of motivation.
Yeah.
Then there's there's also just turning off your self-editor, rolling stuff out. That's a big thing.
Finding a way to revisit your work and let the back end of your head resolve your issues so that you can move through it. Like letting the back end of your head resolve your issues so that you can move through it. Like taking it passively and then reapproaching it. Like that whole bit. I don't know if that's necessarily motivating.
Is that what we said? Yeah, but I think, just like I'm a big fan of first drafts. I think, you just roll it out there. You roll it out there. You try to edit as little as you can. I mean, just enough. I
literally have nothing but first drafts. I am not motivated to edit any of them.
Well, but you see, this is the thing. I think that you should, you might want to, I think I was telling you this last week, but you might want to just consider there are some people they've got enough experience doing writing that their first drafts are just great.
Mine are not.
No. I get that. But I mean, that's where I was thinking that you should do like one of those flash fiction blogs.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And then just write short stuff.
Things that I just,
just constantly every day, commit to writing a short story every day. And then, I guarantee you after you've done that for a few weeks or whatever, your technique is going to be a lot better, and you're going to have a better, and this is, there's no editing involved with this, right?
Right.
I mean, except for the editing that you're doing in the spot. But but you have to turn that off a little bit because you have to roll it out. So I mean, you're just going to find that you're able to make certain decisions in the flow. You're going to, you're going to figure out ways to keep whatever format or structure that you're trying to do, and then it's just gonna get better and better, after a while. And then maybe you can take on a bigger beast. If these are short 1-page stories or something like that.
Yeah.
And then once you do that, you can maybe get to 2-page stories or whatever account or however many number of characters, I guess, is how we should be doing it by. But
no, I listened to, there's a podcast with he's not an animator, he's a cartoonist, and he's with it's Writing Excuses, and he's with he's with a bunch of authors that they're novelists and everything, and like his process is just so different because he doesn't get the chance to go back and edit. And it is kind of what you're just talking about there. It's like you just have to keep going, and you have that idea and you just keep going because you've got to put something out. His webcomic is like, I guess it's like daily or weekly or something like that. So yeah.
See, I was a big fan of Philip K. Dick for a while. He's the guy that wrote Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which was turned into Blade Runner and Total Recall, and anyway, he wrote the stories that those movies were based on.
Scanner Darkly. Scanner Darkly.
Yep, there you go. And he actually he didn't know what to do with a revision. If he was, I remember he was talking about how he wrote a story, he cranked it out, and the publisher wanted some revisions or whatever. And this was like a new person, a new editor or whatever, somebody I don't think he'd worked with before. And instead of editing it, he basically just wrote a new book. And so he had these 2 books, and that's like, and that was the way that it's just his process, and that's okay. It's okay to have that as a process. I think, there's some people that are really, really good about, just fine tuning stuff and doing that, and they really enjoy it. They work at it. They work at it that way. But I think most people would really benefit from just going with the flow, getting it out there, having other people kind of look at it and tell you what is actually good about it. Because I can get a sympathetic person, and say it's a first draft or a second draft or whatever it is. But a lot of that stuff you just sort of crank out and you go with the flow is better than you may think it is. I really think.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think that's a good point for us to stop, Dave.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the second part? This is our first show. So what's the second?
So this is the part. So we're going to take a break, right? And actually, I guess today we'll just take a break, but this would be the end of our podcast right here, is where we would end with our discussion. And
I see. So the actual part, the audio that you'd be stealing and putting to, okay. And then the rest is...
And the rest is just us doing what we do, which is doing what we do. So
working on. So this is where we get to the boring part where everybody watches us work on stuff. Sorry, did I say that out loud?
We can still converse, what have you, I mean, and that was the idea. It's like, so at this point, all right, we're going to take a break. I don't know how we would go into it. All right, so beat it, pinata thing.
Hell out of here. Go beat your own pinata.
Go beat your own pinata.
See what shakes out.
So, all right. So, but that's a wrap. I don't know.
No. Actually, I like that. I like. Now it's time for you to beat your own pinata and see what shakes out. I think that should totally be the ending of every show.
So now it's time for you to beat your own pinata and see what
shakes out.
What shakes out. All right. We'll catch you next
I love that. What are you talking about? That's my favorite part of the show so far.
Okay. All right. So
get lost.
Thank you for joining us. Go beat your own pinata and see what shakes out.
And we'll see you next time.
Next week? Yeah.
I guess we shouldn't say next week. I don't want to commit to a time. Next time.
Next time.
Okay.
On Lost Pinata.
So, beep, boop, beep. That's the end. All right. Okay. Now we're into the live stream. We do have somebody watching us apparently.
Oh,
so hello, person.
Hello, person.
It's good to have you out there.
There to So
you get to see the avant-garde experimental version of this show.
well, it's all being built before your eyes. That was the idea. We just keep building on it. So.
Yeah.
So, I was gonna say, so it never really came up, but yeah, the other motivation being if I do something really crappy, I want to make something better. And that's
does that actually motivate you when you?
Yeah, that's when.
Oh, why didn't you play this during the show?
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. Yeah, that's when I was going to bring up this.
Well, we could have kept talking. You know.
Yeah.
Well, you can bring it up next time, I guess. We're showing it for our one watch.
we got a viewer, so let them watch it. And for all I know, that's just somehow us watching ourselves. So.
Well, I don't know. Well, like I said, for me, I'm seeing a bunch of still pictures. I'm not seeing video for whatever reason.
Okay, so I see the video, so I'm guessing.
Okay.
I wanted to play it also just so we see the replay and see, like, does it come out as video or does it come out as a bunch of still pictures? So
yeah.
I'm big and you're little. What? Were you that? Yeah, we were that.
Well, yeah. So, okay.
All right.
Well,
I mean, we could stop the live stream at this point and
I thought your concept was about, actually because aren't there streams where people do work,
Yeah.
So I don't know, what did you want to?
We could try that. Since this was our first bit, I just wanted to then talk about it some. So.
Okay. Yeah. Why don't we do that? Yeah. Why don't we? Yeah. Okay. Sure. All right.
All right.
Bye,
people.